Good morning, all. Let's just make sure. Let's do our quick audio check and make sure that everything is working. Yep. Okay, we got audio. Perfect. I just recorded a video last night for playtest, and 2 minutes into it, I managed to mute my microphone and lose all that audio that I was recording for it. So, lots of fun. Great. So, thanks for joining me for this beautiful Thursday morning. It actually is nice, which is change here in Vermont. Normally it's been absolutely just downpour, thunderstorms and everything lately. So the other nice thing is I got all the server parts in yesterday. So today after the stream, I'm going to be rebuilding my server. So hopefully, fingers crossed, tomorrow morning I'll be able to have our actual tracker back up and working. And so we can go back in and log all the past entries that we missed and get everything back on track, so we still have that same central repository of things being tracked and worked. So hopefully that'll be up. But learn from me, RAID 6 alone is not a valid redundancy backup solution. You should always have other copies of stuff elsewhere. It gets really hard when you do 4K video recordings and the size of those files to start storing them elsewhere that's not on a 12 terabyte NAS. But when you lose it because your alerts aren't working, don't do that. So it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to rebuild that server. I've got 10 new hard drives in, so we're going to increase the storage space and everything like that. It should be a lot of fun. Network engineer being geeky here. So with that, there's the agenda today with what we're looking at doing is we're going to first, I got a couple things from Milestone 3 that I want to fix. They shouldn't take very long. We want to fix that asynchronous turn problem that we have. What was the other thing? Hold on, I wrote it down over here. The double turn, like when we add the tiles with the monsters, whoever that player is gets another turn again. That one's going to be pretty easy. We'll fix that one first. And then after that, what we're going to do is we're going to... So we'll fix the double turn thing. We'll fix the asynchronous turn issue. And then we're going to start working on Milestone 4. We're going to be developing characters. I'm going to use a lot of stuff from HeroQuest and actually pull in a lot of the stats and stuff like that game uses for the game. And we're going to, build through all that stuff. So let's take a look here. Let's jump over to our GDD. So once we do those bug fixes, we're going to come back in here because our milestone right now we're going to be moving to is 4. So we're going to be defining our heroes. We're going to define their abilities. We're going to define the monsters and their abilities and some items. Because again, the idea is there's a base character and then his attacks or their attacks are all based off what equipment they're wearing. Whether that changes the defense pool or if that changes their attack pools and stuff like that for that type of stuff. So then we're going to go in here. We're going to flesh out each of these. We have the rogue, wizard, cleric, and barbarian because these are just the epitome of the standard D&D classes. Realizing when I was doing some research earlier, there's not really a cleric class in D&D. There's a paladin, but it doesn't really match the art assets that we have for our cleric. I do have a paladin asset, but I feel like a barbarian and a paladin might be a little too um, similar. I mean, yes, I know they're very different. Heavily armored and cast holy spells, and unarmored and just wreck shop. But in gameplay wise, brute force, take a lot of damage, deal. The barbarian does deal damage, and the paladin would heal. But that might just be a little too much of the same, if you know what I mean. It doesn't feel like it's a variation of the role. But what I'm going to do is we're going to fix the stuff first, but I'm going to start a poll for all the viewers here and see, which class do you want to actually start building first. So I'm going to just put that poll in right now. 1 second. Which class to build first? Okay, and then we're going to do, let's see, rogue, barbarian, the wizard, and then the cleric. And you know what? I'm gonna start this poll right now. We're gonna let it go through while I'm fixing so people can interact with it. If you have another idea for a character class that might actually fit this, let's go ahead and start that and just see if there is maybe I have an asset for it. Maybe there's a good reason we can work through it. I mean, this is one of the benefits here of me doing this live on stream. So I can interact with you guys. And if you find something that you think would be a good fit for this game, we can try it. So without further ado, I'm going to get into fixing, but take a look at that poll and decide which character class that you want to work on first. So let's go ahead and we'll come back to that poll and we'll see what the results are when we're done doing the bug fixes. The other thing to note is I did download 4.7. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade our project to Godot 4.7. Hopefully everything works good. So far, my other games, my Simon's Quest and some other stuff I've done, there's been no issues with the import. First, we need to go back up here, change our editor settings so you guys can actually see the screen. Do 125%. Okay, there we go. There's our little orky boy. Okay, so just kind of refresh here whoops, that's the wrong button. There we go. So what was happening here is like if I move here and okay, let's see if we can get there we go. So then this happened, and sometimes this character would get an extra turn, like right here. He got an extra turn, even though he's the one who just explored that tile. The problem we have is how we're handling our linked list. And there's a bug in our linked list. And it took me a little while to work through this and try to figure out, what was happening. Because when I was trying to recreate this on my test bench on my other laptop, I couldn't for the life of me figure out why it wasn't happening. It was like, I'm not getting this to happen. The only time it happens is when you add in characters and they roll a higher initiative than the character that explored. And so that's what the problem we're having is. So if we come into let's see, where is it here? Our combat manager. Let's go to scripts. And we'll bring up our combat manager. Actually, right here. Here we go, combat manager. And let's see, there is is it the combat manager? Where was it here? I'm trying to remember where this was now. Let's see if I put it in my notes. Where was it? Turn manager, not combat manager, turn manager. Turn Okay, we'll go into our turn manager. And right here, where are we? Where's our add? Remove, add actor. Here we go. And it is the this one right here. Yeah. So what we're doing is if the check turn node equals the current turn node, then the current turn node equals the new turn node. So what it was basically doing was when we inserted the orc with a higher initiative, he became the head of the linked list and the current active character. So then it would act, finish, and then it would go on to the next item in the list, which was our player that just explored. So it's basically all it did was bumping it back one. And that's because we did it this way so that when we add all of our player characters, they can roll in any order and then we sort them out properly, which this works great for the beginning when we first add in the characters. But what we want to do is, sorry, I'm just muting my phone here. There we go. But what we want to do is we only want to run this at the very beginning when we first set up our party. We don't want to change the initiative order and set it back to the actual start of the list until unless we purposely call that later on. There might be a reason why we want to do that. I'm trying to think like something. Maybe like say we have a druid or a wizard that casts a familiar spell and we can then have the familiar go and we still maybe don't want to go with the next one, but we'll see here. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's so what we want to do is we're going to take this out entirely. We're just going to remove that. Oops. Okay, we're going to leave this alone. But then what we need to do is let's start a new function here. We're going to call it I can't type in the microphone in the way. Let's try this again. determin determining starting actor. Okay, and then in here we're not going to need anything because all we're going to do is work on the list. Okay, and then so let's see, if actor listing is empty. Okay, this is going to be really easy. We just return because we already know who the starting actor is. And then if not, we want to find highest node. Yeah, because this is a linked list, so we're talking nodes. Node. Okay, so we want to take the highest node, and then what we're going to do, this is going to be of type turn node. Make sure we keep our type safety in place here. And then we want to go through all the actors for actors in the actor listing. And then what we want to do is we want to do var node equals actor listing. Okay. And then if highest node is null, or if our node.initiative, right, our initiative, can't spell, is greater than the highest, highest node.initiative. I want to make sure I spelled this right. INIT. Hey, look at that. See, this is why I double check, because I misspelled initiative. Aha. Yeah, Can Evan there. See, I caught it before you did. So, and then we're just going to set who the highest node is. Highest node equals node. Okay. And then at the end here, we want to set the current turn node equal to our highest node. Okay. Okay. And then all we need to do is we need to just call this in the beginning. So if we come back into our game board, is it a game board? Where do we set this up originally? I think it's game board. Excuse me. Function Oops, I just accidentally hit spacebar. Nope. Combat manager setup. Here we go. For actor and actors, register the actor. Okay, and then in here we want to do before the new turn emit. We're going to put in here the turn manager. Turn manager dot. Oh wait, no, we don't want to do it that way. We want to do turn underscore manager because we're referring to the actual object, not the class. And then we're going to do determine starting actor. Okay, and then so that will set up our first person in the array properly, just like we were doing before. Now what's going to happen is when we add in that extra tile, we're not changing the head, we're keeping it right where it is. So that should all work. We shouldn't have that problem again. So I think that should resolve that issue. So let's just double check that. Run to the game board here. Okay, so let's see here. End. Who's up? End turn. Okay, come on. Let's get a entrance tile here so we can get some monsters. There we go. Okay, so now it should not be the cleric's turn again. Well, okay. That was an invalid test because the cleric died. Let's try it one more time. Or not cleric, wizard, whoever it was. Okay, come on. Come on. We can get an entrance tile here somewhere. I could go through and cheat, but I mean, we already set that entrance tile to be a weight of 10, so it should come up fairly often. Wow. So on a side note too, as I'm trying to get this to come up here, when we go back through and we're getting ready to actually make this playable, we're going to add in, right now we only have like 11 tiles. We're going to add in multiple of these tiles, but some of them are going to have monsters, some of them may have traps, some of them may have monsters, traps, treasure on them. So then we can have, you know, more interesting than right now where we're just exploring. Here we go. Okay, so if he survives this, which he won't. Either way, I believe, because now it's going to go through all this stuff, we should be all set. That should have resolved that issue. The other issue we have is, let me see if I can, I'm just going to change this to entrance tile 2 in game board because we need to do in combat to showcase this. Okay. So what can happen is sometimes there's like an asynchronous turn where we can be doing, trying to see here if it's here. How can I remember how to trigger this here? We can attack. Yeah, see, because we can do this multiple times now. It's not waiting for the dice turn to actually be done. Oh, I know how to do it. If I do this, if I do attack here and then do a move or an end turn, something like that, you know, move here, end turn while he's still moving, that creates an asynchronous thing. So we can have things happening out of order. So we need to make sure that we're waiting for that stuff. So I want to go through, add that fix in. And again, if you haven't had a chance yet, you know, go ahead and take a look at the poll and vote for which character class you think we should start building with first. So to fix that stuff, what we need to do is in the game board itself, what we're going to have to do is where we have advanced turn, here it is. Right now we're doing these as voids. I'm going to change these into bools. So then we have to actually await and return value. Bools are just easy, you know, true or false, pretty easy. But a void will never return a value. So you can't await a void function. Even if you have an await within the function, like we have await tile selected. I'm reaching over my mic to point at the screen, which you can't see. But because it's a void, Godot will never wait for that function to complete. So we have to have a return value of something to make it await. So we're going to change this into a bool, and then we're going to just add some return values into it. So let's add in a bool here. And then this first one, let's see, if combat managers and group monsters, print monster, return true, I believe we want on this one. It doesn't really matter. And then here we're awaiting this. This is return true. And then we need a fall out, return false. This is just our catch-all. Because it should be, if it's a monster, it's going to return true. If it's not a monster, we're going to show the possibles, and then we're going to wait for the tile selection, and then return true. This is just our catch-all, return false. Right now, we don't have traps in here, but if we had traps and the traps actually get a turn, I don't know exactly what type of traps we're going to make yet, but if they get a turn, then we'll have to come back in here and edit this, and add it in another check or something like that. So right now we have advanced turn, but now we also have to await the advanced turn. And so what we need to do in there is, if we go into the actor move, here we go. We need to change this also to a Boolean. No, wait, we don't need to change this into a Boolean. We need to change this into a Boolean. So if we do, let me think about this. We're going to need to change the combat manager actor move. So we need to add in a check. So if combat manager move, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to remember how I showed you that bug that we were able to create this with being able to click on our actions while something's executing. Let's remove the action panel while that's happening, so then we can kind of prevent that stuff. So let's add in an action panel here, dot visible equals false. So if the actor is moving, oops, FALSE, hide the action panel. Okay. Okay, so then what we need to do, that's going to hide the action panel. So then when the move is done, where do we trigger the move is done? Let me see here. I think we already do this. We already make it. I'm just curious. Let me just test this. I want to see. Oh, we need to fix this first, because if we're doing it if and actor move doesn't return anything, it's not going to work. Combat manager, actor move. Here we go. This, again, we're going to just change this into a bool. So here, we just need to do a turn manager, use action point. So if it's this, return true. And then our fallback catch-all, return false. Which, I mean, this makes sense if you think about it. If there is an action point and we activate it, we're going to say, yes, it's true. If not, we're going to return false. Okay. So let's just make sure we're not losing that panel here when I move. Okay. Okay. My turn. Okay, so move there. And it's not returning. Okay, so when the move is done, we need to put that panel back up. Okay. So let's see here. We need to then do where so we do the request from here. We do the actor move. So if actor is moving, I feel like, should we do an if or should we do an await there? No, I don't think the await is going to be the right move. Let's do, let me think. Where's our turn manager? Turn manager. Where's our... Trying to think here. Action, actor move, return true, return false. Where are we calling? Where are we calling move? That's called from the button. Hi Roman. No, right now I only stream on YouTube. I do not stream anywhere else. I did try Twitch for a while, but all I got was spammers. I didn't actually get people interacting with the stream. Just random crap would be the best way to put that. So I'm only streaming right now on YouTube. Maybe in the future I'll change my mind, but currently I keep everything centralized. It's a lot easier. Okay. Let me see here. Where are we calling actor move? We are calling it from. So our move button pressed. Okay. So when we press it, we start the actor move. Okay. And then we go back down here. Actor move. So we say if it's valid, then we're going to hide the panel. And then we need to await. Do we have a character current actor dot? Do we have like an action done? Let's go back here. Let's look at our actor script. We have signal action complete. Here we go. That's what we're looking for. Await action complete. Can we just do that? Or because it's going to pass a node, do we need to have the node? Speaking of ads, I do have YouTube monetization. The live ads that I'm going to do on Thursdays and Fridays when I stream, the streams I do on Thursdays and Fridays, I'm going to do ad free. And then if people watch the VOD, there will be ads on the VOD, just so people are aware. If you watch live, they do it side by side, but you know what? If you're here live, I want you interacting with the stream instead of actually seeing ads. So I will take the no monetization while we're streaming live, and then it'll just be on the VODs that the ads exist. So just give people a heads up on that. Okay, so we're awaiting the action complete, and then we need to show the action panel again. Okay, let's go back to our game board here. Let's set the entrance back to this because we don't need the monsters for this. Okay, so if we move, okay, that's what I thought. I thought we were gonna have to have so it's sending the action complete, it's sending the node. Is there a way that we can just like ignore it? Because when we have the current actor, we have the action complete signal and on movement finished. Okay, here's our movement finished. Let's look at player. Okay, and then on our movement finish, we have the deactivate, which we have the action complete emit self. So we're sending the action complete, we're sending the node. Await current actor dot action complete. How can we just do like a null here? You know, just like a send it nowhere. Can we do a null? Can we do a void? I hate to just create like an empty thing. Let's see if that, no, that doesn't work. Okay. We can just do, for the time being, we can just do action done. Oops, action done. Function action, oops, underscore. Action done, underscore actor. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, dummy me. Because what this is saying is await this. It's sending back a bool value. So we need to check this to make sure that we got a return value. So we do this, and then we can just do return true. Okay. That should be enough to get past that. Let's see. No. Non-existent function. Action. It's a signal. Current actor. Don't we have that signal? What am I doing wrong here? Help me out, friends. What am I doing wrong here? We're looking for action complete, but why is it not? It's in the base of the character of the actor class. It's a signal. Action complete. Await current actor dot action complete. And it's saying it can't find that. Oh, because I put the parentheses. Is that calling it as a function? Is that why? Oops, I just hit like several of the wrong buttons, and I think I may have just crashed Godot. Let's find out here. Yeah, I did. Okay, there we go. Let's try that one more time. Let's not hit like 3 function buttons at the same time. Hey, there we go. Okay, so this is cool, except for the fact that now, once we hit move, we can't cancel out of the move. So that works, but we can't cancel out of the move. So let's leave that like that for right now. We're going to come back to that. That's going to be a polish thing. Because that is, I know what's causing that, and I think I know how to fix that. Let me think through one more thing. Hold on. Let's see. Actor. What do we have in our actor? We have all this set up. Do we want to do a... Let me think here. Combat man. Let's go back to our combat manager. I want to look at something. Next turn. We got action points. That solves the problem of us being able to execute 2 actions at once. We don't want to do that. That's not, or sorry, I mean, we do want to do that, but that's not solving our actual problem of the turn advancing before it's done. Because right now, if I do an attack, I can still advance the turn while the attack is happening. Hmm. 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 Okay. Well, let's see. Let's go over and let's take a look at what I put in my notes over here for this. Async. Oh yeah, we need to set it up for the attack as well. Attack actor. Oh no, that's just hiding the panel. Oh, we can try that. Maybe that will. No, that. Well, Yeah, well, we still need to do it to the attack as well, because if we don't do it to the attack, um, if we don't change this into a bool like we did with the move, where's the move? Here we go. So if we don't change this into a bool, then the attack's going to have the same problem. So let's do that. Let's change this into a bool. So we build the dice, we await the dice roll, damage, await, unregister, actor. Where do we want to put this in? So function, attack, targets the actor. So this is all done. So then here we're going to do the return true because the attack's over. Okay. Do we have a case where we want to return false? So the attack executed correctly. Okay, so we'll do that, but let's go see where we call this. Attack. So it must be from the game board. Target selected. Yeah, right here. Await combat manager attack. Okay, so again, before when we were calling this, we were awaiting a void function. And when you await the void function, there's nothing for it to wait for because there's no return condition. So this should prevent us from being able to attack a second time until the first attack is done. Do we still have, let's go back to our game board. We'll put back on entrance 2 so we have our orcs right from the beginning. Okay, so if we attack, okay, we need to hide the panel so that we don't do that. Okay, so where we click attack here in game board, button attack, actor attack, actor move, actor attack. Here we go. So what we're going to do is select the target. So once we select the target is when we should probably hide the panel. So right here, actor attack, select target, enable target mode, target selected, actor targeted as target selected. Okay, so in here, here's where we target it. So if it's a valid target, actor targeted, disable target mode. You know what? We should just put it here. No, we don't want to do it that because we want to make sure that it's on a valid target because then it's going to start the combat sequence. If it's not a valid target, we don't want to turn it off because then we can't do anything. Okay, so we have here, so if actor and get tree node monster, if actor target is connected, selected as target, disconnect. Are we doing the valid check here? I don't think we're doing the valid check, are we? Oh, we're not doing a valid check because there's times where we may want to target our own player. Okay, so right here before this, we can do this, turn that off, and then turn it back on here. Okay, so we do this. He dies. So if we attack, okay, so that's working. I don't have the AP in yet, so that'll be when we do our abilities. We'll start doing the AP check and stuff. Okay. So do we have a... Yeah, so now... This is the nature of game dev. We fixed a bug, and now we create a new one because now after the orc's done attacking, we pop up the action panel, and then the orc chooses something, and we hide the action panel again. Okay. Well, we can do a simple fix. I don't like this simple fix, but let's do it. We can just say if as an actor selected. No, we want who's our current actor? If current actor dot is in group players. Okay, so then that should only happen now if it's a player. So if we attack that, hide it, show it, end the turn, end the turn, end the turn. Okay, go orcs. Roll, no panel. No panel. Okay. Okay. We still got the stacking. I found a solution to that, and it's the, what do they call that here? It's the breadth first search. So I want to take and look into it. So basically it's, do they have the, no, this is probably the best way to think about it here. And if I do this, so the algorithm I did find for this, that I'm probably going to go back and implement, is basically you check the first one, check the neighboring tiles, and then, work down through. There's breadth first and depth first search. And breadth first is you check this, check these two, so the neighboring stuff, then check the next level all the way across. Whereas depth first is you check and go, oh, I can't go that first square, check 2 prior squares. Okay, well, I can't go that square, check 2 more prior squares. And so that's backtracking a lot. And think about, like, when you play a board game, you go, hey, I want to go attack this player, but this square and this square, this square and is occupied. Is there another square right around that player that's unoccupied? Yes, let's go to that square. So you're looking around for those other valid options first versus trying to backtrack to that square. So it'd be like, that one's occupied. Can I go to the one, one close or one further away? You don't want to think that way. So I'm going to implement this, the breadth first search. I want to mess with it a little bit in my test bench and my program, just to make sure I have a full understanding of how to implement that algorithm. But that is the solution I'm going to use so that we don't get the stacking on the bad guys, so they don't stack on top of each other. So, okay, I think that solves or fixes all of the bugs that we had. So let's go over here. Let's take a look. I'm going to scroll down here. Let's close this poll and let's see what the poll results say. Looks like Rogue is 67% of the votes. Okay, so let's jump over here. Let's take a look what we have here for our assets. So we're going to first jump over here. We're going to work on our Rogue here first. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Abilities. Actually, let's do stats, abilities. How did I misspell abilities? There we go. Stats, abilities. Yeah, we'll just go with those first. So we'll work on that, but let me just show you what we have here for Rogue. So right now for our general animations, what we have the GIF here. So I can get these here. Whoops, wrong window. There we go. So right now we have, just a quick little like dagger swipe that we have for him. This is his dying animation because he has bombs. His hurt animation, idle. We're not going to use, I mean, we could use jumping. Maybe that's a valid ability. I'm not sure yet. And then that's just his walking animation. So, but the thing I want to show you, because I mean, that's fairly general. That's our basic stuff. We do have special animations. So it does come with 3 special animations that we can base powers off. I'm thinking that maybe we use 3. My brain is saying 2 powers just to keep it simpler, but maybe we go with 3. So right now for animations, we have, this is called mobility. And this is like a dash and a roll. So like maybe because right now you can't move through monsters, maybe his mobility allows him to actually dash through a monster and get to the other side. Something along those lines we could possibly implement. Um, that is one thing, or it could be maybe his ability is, mobility allows him to move extra tiles so he can be super fast and get across the board. Don't know, but we can work on that. The other thing we have here is shurikens, and this is kind of cool. He just kind of throws and hits everybody around him. Um, that one's I had a lot of fun in the first build of Dungeon Fodder using that. I enjoyed that a lot. And let's see here. The other one he has is a throw bomb. This one's fun. Basically, he gets a stick of dynamite, or not stick of dynamite, an actual cartoon bomb, and he throws the bomb, and it explodes. So that's a fun ability. I don't know, how we want to base these abilities and what we want to do, but I think the first thing I want to start with, let's start with his stats. Let's define his base stats, and then we can go into especially those above and beyond abilities that you can do. So where I was looking earlier for this is I'm trying to look at the different Hero Quest cards, and I don't remember if there's a base rogue class or not. R-O-G-U-E. Oops. Help if I put space in there. Yeah, I don't think there. I think this one's a custom one. I don't think this is a legit rogue. Trying to remember now. I have to go get the box out of the basement. I don't have it right with me. But there's a couple different ones here that we can look at for inspiration. He's got 1 attack die, 2 defense dice. He's got 5 hit points. And the other thing we need to decide with the stats is, do we want to just have hit points, make it pure simple, or do we want to have like a separate mind, like in D&D terms, a saving throw, or Hero Quest terms, a mind stat that we can use to try to, in Hero Quest, the mind stat is a separate hit point pool, basically, if I remember correctly. And in D&D, it's more of it's a saving throw to see if you take the physical damage or not. So, I mean, that's a good question. Like, how do we want to define these for the players? When we have these spell cards, what are we going to do to cause damage? So let's see if I can get some of these to come up here. I mean, these are all custom ones, but we can browse through the internet and try to figure out some ideas of what we want to do. So like this says, restores any of the owner's body points lost by poisoning. So maybe we can create a poison thing, throw a green shader or something on there. Choose the speed, healing, restores 2 lost body points. There could be a bunch of different things. Okay, there is a rogue actually in. These are monks. I was gonna say, oh, the rogue heir. Okay, there is a rogue heir. Okay, so these are the legit rogues. Okay. Yep. Okay. So I'm thinking what we can do is we can definitely tweak this later on, but I think if we start by defining these as the base, so 1 attack die, 2 defense dice, and then our body and mind. He starts with a dagger. So here's the question, like, how do we want to do this in our design? Do we want to make the stat so that all characters always get 1 attack die and just like that's punching and that's it? Or do we want to do, they have nothing unless they have a weapon? So if they, and this will be the dagger is equal to 1 attack die. Because the idea that I'm having is when the pool is formed, the attack pool of dice, it's going to take whatever the stat is plus whatever the items that the characters has equipped. Maybe we have like if they equip a shield, or my original idea was a cloak, but I think it's going to be more of I don't know. I don't know how it is, because in Hero Quest, like in theory, you can get like a plate mail item card and give it to the wizard. There's no. Oh, actually, I don't think you can, because I think it says except the wizard. There's things like that, but any other character can use it. So we got to figure out, how do we want to do this to make sense? We also don't want to overcomplicate it. I know D&D inside and out. I've been playing it for, what am I at, 39 years now? 1987. Yeah, so I've been playing it for a long time. So I know D&D inside and out, and like I could, without thinking twice, I can just go through and build a D&D system. But I feel like that's overcomplicated for not only the style game that we're making, but at the art asset level that we're making also, because it's 8x8 sprites. This isn't looking for something super complicated. But yeah, let's go define the stats for the rogue. So if you remember previously, let's jump over here. We actually already have the rogue. Where do we? Here we go. Rogue right here. We already have the character stats here. So we have a movement of 6. Base attack dice, we're going to put it back to 1. Base defense dice is going to be 2, and his hit points are going to be 5. Okay. So right now, that's the rogue. Okay. And then that resource right now is assigned to everybody. So right now, if we were to play this game, everybody's going to have 1 attack die and 2 defense die. So if I attack, here's the 1 attack die, 2 defense dice. Every single person is going to be the same way. So, oops, quit out of the game. So when we get into the barbarian and cleric and stuff like that, we'll set these. But, what do you guys think? What do you think we should have a separate, either like spell defense, so that like when the cleric tries to like use fear, probably won't work for a cleric, but well, it could be like if it was an undead, they want to turn undead, and it might be like a fear thing against the skeletons, or well, we're using orcs. Coming back to the GDD, let's go back to our GDD here. We are doing 4 heroes in a dungeon against orcs. So we got to keep that in mind. So orcs are our focus. So let's think about, we have orcs that are melee. We have orcs that are ranged. We have orcs that's a range too, but like a really dangerous melee. These are high defense. And then we do have like a cave troll boss and a pale champion boss. So let's think about how we want to use those stats. So if I come back over, oops, let's go back over here to this. So if we don't have any spells on the monster side, so let's think about that in terms of character abilities, both the wizard, the cleric, the rogue. Do we actually need mind points? Probably not, because the only people that are going to have spells, at least at the beginning, are going to be the players. So I don't believe we're going to need that. So we can just set our hit points there. And as long as we think about our abilities in terms of hit point damage, then that should be fine. Okay, so we've got our base stats. So let's add these in here. So we've got, let's see here, we've got what did we define them? Move is 6. We did attack is 1, defense is 2, and HP is 5. Okay. I'm just going to copy this stuff down, because we're going to use that for each of our other characters as well. Okay, cleric, boom, barbarian, boom. Okay. Okay, so we've got that defined for here. I don't know if the dagger is going to be. Well, let's think about this. Are we going to have an ability to disarm? Because if we don't have an ability to disarm, then the character is always going to be equipped with something. Because we're going to have starting equipment. You know, the rogue's going to start with his dagger. He's never going to not have a weapon. We're going to be able to replace it, like at a shop or from a drop, with maybe twin daggers or something along those lines. So, and there's also and this is jumping ahead just a little bit, but still in Milestone 4, like maybe when we upgrade to twin daggers, he rolls, 2 dice makes sense. But then if we do twin daggers of viciousness or something like that, we can also change out the dice. So then there could be maybe like a double, what's it called? Double damage, like 2 skulls or something along those lines. We want to make sure that type of stuff is happening. Let me see here. What else is there? I think that should be good there. We can come back here. We can go back and revisit, but let's look at the abilities again. Now let's try to define some stuff here for the rogue. So we've got mobility, shurikens, and throw bomb. So let's put those in. Let's see what we can do with those. IL, MOB, I, mobility, shurikens, and throw bomb. Spell shurikens, right? Shurikens. There we go. Okay. Is that how you spell shurikens? SHURIKENS. Okay, yeah, it was just add to the dictionary. There we go. Okay, so our mobility. Let's think about this. We have this cool animation. Let's bring that up because I think the animation is going to help us think about it. So we also have a run animation and we have the dodge animation, which the dodge is like the let's see if I can bring this up here. So dodge is our roll. We got, quick dodge roll. And then we also have the run, which is like his really fast run, almost like a Naruto run right here with the way that those are. So if we think about this, we got run, dash. I always kind of like the idea of being able to move through enemy spaces. Which could work because we already have that A star where it says, hey, monsters are, solid. We can actually just go, hey, if we're using this, undo the monsters as being solid. So then we can we can walk right through them. So I think we already have the logic that we need for this. So I think if we do the mobility dash, or not dash, just call it mobility, it'll allow us to pass through like an enemy square. How much that's going to impact the game, I don't know. But if there's a part where the enemies are blocking a corridor, it might very well. But let's try that. Let's go with. And then we also have a run. So let's put both of these ideas down. Let's go back over here. Let's do mobility, and we'll call it. The first one's going to be able to walk through. I'm not going to say walk. I'm just going to say move. Move through enemy squares. Okay. The other one may be like an additional, like, do we want to do like a double movement maybe? Double move? Is that going to be too much for, because if it's 6/6 and then he gets 12, How about 1.5 move? So then he'll go from 6 to 9. 1.5x move. Yeah. And let's put this as a whoops. Let's put this as an or here because I don't want it to be both. I don't want him to have super move and be able to move through orc squares because I feel like that might make it a little bit too overpowered. So let's see here. So shurikens is let's go back and look at our animation. So shurikens, and let's see what do we have here for the actual animation. Okay, so these are not separate elements, so we're kind of restricted on what we can do. So this is only going to be the animation we have here. So it'll be he gets to attack everywhere. This is looking like maybe 1, 2. So it'd be a 5x5 area that he gets to attack with shurikens. I feel like that might be a little overkill, but let's do a AoE. Yeah, let's just do an AoE. AoE. So this is an AoE. I'm gonna put 5x5 because that's what the animation looks like. It's gonna cover about 5 tiles. So it'd be an AoE. And how much? Okay, here's where we come back to our action point economy. What do we want to make some of this stuff cost, and what do we want it to? How often do we want to recharge and be able to be usable? So if we do the shurikens, I mean that, especially if it's a 5x5, that's a very potent thing. And do we make it so it targets only enemies? I feel like it's a board game. I feel like we should do that and not target friendlies. And so do we do 2 attack dice each? I'm trying to think here. Do we do, because our daggers are 1, or yeah, let's do like 2. The nice part about this is when we get into playtesting this, we're gonna be able to tweak this. Right now, we're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to find something that sticks so we can look like we have something here. So let's do 2 dice, and then it's gonna, and then it'll be separate. Do we want a separate pool? Or do we want one big pool? We'll come back to it because when we define into our combat logic how we want to do this, because we're going to have, a wizard has to have fireball. If it doesn't have fireball, people aren't going to like that. So we're going to have to define how we want that damage to be dealt. Do we want it to be, D&D is you roll whatever you do for damage, and then it gets applied to everybody who's in that area. I believe, let's look at, actually, you know what? Let's look over here. Let's find our Hero Quest Fireball spell. Let's see how this works. Where is the actual Fireball spell? Did I not actually call it Fireball? Lightning Bolt. One monster, fire 3 magical bolts. Okay, so this looks like the original is Ball of Flame. Maybe cast any one monster or player. It will inflict 2 points of body damage. The victim may roll 2 dice. For each shield he rolls, may reduce the damage by 1. Okay. So if we're going to keep with the dice pool mechanic from Hero Quest, let's kind of think of it in that same terms. I'm just curious, someone made this. Well, I don't care about that. Maybe cast any one monster, any one hero. Small whirlwind that envelops one monster. Cast on any one hero. Okay. So it feels like a lot of these cards are going to be one hero, one hero. These are all going to be like single targets. So maybe we're going to change it a little bit in our game. But for right now, let's kind of keep thinking of it as, yeah, that's a custom one. That's not a actual Hero Quest one. Ball of Flame, any one hero. Yeah. Rock Skin. Yeah, these are definitely the original ones. Genie, Courage, Tempest. Envelops one monster or player. Okay. Yeah, so they're going to do everything is targeted on a single thing. Okay. Sleep, one monster or player. Okay. Yeah. So let's keep with that vein for right now. If we decide to come back around and change the way our mechanics work, then we can definitely update that. But let's focus on that for right now. So if we come back over here, instead of AoE, that's going to be a targeted. That doesn't make sense though with the shurikens. Could be maybe any target within that 5x5 area. How do we want to do something like that? Yeah. So instead of AoE, I want to keep it AoE. Well, let's do 2 dice and then each defender rolls. Because the only downside, the thing I'm thinking of right now, if there's for some ungodly reason, it's a 5x5 square. So of those 25, if all 24 are occupied, 25 being the actual rogue, and he casts this, that is 24 separate attacks and 24 separate defenses. Would that be cool to watch, or is that going to get very monotonous? Is there a better way to decide that? We'll just do it each attack. We'll just have to, cascading targets. 2 dice, separate SCP, separate attacks. Okay. Okay, and then throw a bomb. This is going to be a target. Actually, does that have... Let's go back to our target, our throw bomb. Let's see here. We have a bomb explosion. Here we go. So that's going to target a single square. And then it's going to explode. I feel like that's going to be a single target, but that should be a high damage. That's what that should be. So single target. Single target. But let's make it... How much damage do you think a cartoon bomb should do? So if it's like, say we have 5 hit points, so this maybe do 3 hit points of damage. So it'll be fairly... And the question is, do we do... Because the way that spells work in Heroes Quest is it's automatic hits. And then the defender can roll to try to reduce the damage. So with our shurikens, we had to roll to see if we even hit, and then they get a chance to defend. Whereas a throw bomb, we should start with 3, and then they can roll defense dice to then reduce it. And then defense and defense dice to reduce. Okay. So right now we have a rogue. We have a move of 6, attack of 1. I'm just going to put dagger next to that so we know that That's an item. Defense of 2, hit points of 5. Here's our mobility. Able to move through enemy squares. Okay, so here's our some abilities that we can use. Okay. So it should really change our cast spells to usability. Okay, I think right now this gives us enough to go on. We also need to do for our heroes themselves. We also need to have a that's more general, but we need to have item slots. We need to have a weapon. We need to have whatever they're currently wearing, that type of stuff. So let's see here. What else do we have? Let's see. One moment here. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a good place to start from. So let's move on to our wizard. So let's find what the wizard looks like in Hero Quest. Wizard character card. Okay, so here's our starting wizard. And of course, it's going to bring us here instead of a... Yeah, no, just give me the wizard card. Here we go. So 1, 2, but he's only got a body of 4. And he starts with a dagger as well. So he's 1, 2, and 4. So he's a little bit weaker, but he's... I mean, he gets spells. Spells are going to be where he bumps up. I'm just like right now he starts with a dagger as well. Again, I feel like I don't know if there's enough difference between these two when they start. Do we make them slower? I don't know. Let's go with that. You know what? Let's just quickly stat out the barbarian as well. So our barbarian is 3 attack dice, 2 defense, 8 body. 3, 2, 8. Okay. And then I think someone made a custom cleric, so let's... Oops. Cleric. Okay. Hey, look, they used the D&D mini for that. So it looks like 2, 2, 5, and then starts with a mace. Okay, so let's see here. 2, 2, 5. 2, 2, 5. That's a mace. And then this one for him is going to be a great sword. Sword with an A. Sword. I can't say that. Sword? Great sword. Okay. Yeah. I think the problem right now that I have is if we go back to if we go to our cleric and we look at our animations right now for the cleric, the stuff that we have, you know what, let's go to the animated one. Boom. You know, we have this cleric. I mean, he clearly looks like a priest. He doesn't look like what you think of like a D&D, like a dungeon explorer. He is cool. It's unique. I'm just wondering that, you know, if that's the animation we use, is that going to feel weird with that character class? You know, maybe we need to switch into a paladin or something. Let me see. Do I have assets? Mini fantasy. Where's mini? Mini fantasy. Here we go. What do we have? True Heroes 2. We do have a paladin in the same thing. So let's go back here. General animation. So then we have like a paladin, but I feel like, you know, maybe the paladin and the barbarian are not going to be different enough. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? What's your vote on that? If we're going to do, you know, I don't really have a good cleric because the cleric I have looks more like a priest is what I would call it. Maybe we call it priest instead of cleric. Um, yeah, maybe we do that. I mean, we don't have to stick to the standard naming conventions. What else do we have? Let's see. What does the bard look like? Okay, yeah, no. Okay, bard's not gonna be a good one. Let's see. True Heroes 3, which I think's where the wizard is. Yeah, wizard. We have a fighter. What's a regular fighter look like? No, let's get the animated gifs. Yeah, again, I mean, that's not going to be enough difference from a, um, what's it called? From a barbarian. I don't think that's going to work. Let's see, what else do we have? That's 3. We have a druid. I mean, do we pivot from a cleric into a druid? It definitely looks different. The downside to the druid is all of his animations are all shape shifting, basically. And he changes into different shapes. I like the idea. I just don't know, again, with our theme of keeping this simple, if that's worth doing right now. What do we have any other true heroes? I don't think we do. True hero. Oh, we do have True Heroes 4. Let's see what's in True Heroes 4. We have a blood mage. Yeah, that's a little off. Let's see what else we got. We got Ninja Assassin. I'm 100% certain. Yeah, that's not gonna. It might fit. You never know. We can take this somewhere totally bonkers with it. Like you start off pure fantasy, and by the end you have a space ranger that's shooting laser guns at orcs as you explore. There could be a whole bunch of fun stuff we could do with that with like tongue in cheek and stuff like that. Um, where is idle? Here we go. Okay, yeah, gun ranger pirate captain. Yeah, that's it's probably not going to work either. Yeah, I think we should probably let's re. Let's look at some exclusives. Maybe there's something in our exclusives that might be useful. Let's see what we have in here. All exclusives, creatures. I think most of these are not going to be player characters, but dragons, earth elementals, giant spiders, kings. Yeah, these are more um, an orc knight. No, riding on the yeah. Yeah, I think that's let's go with the rename. Let's call him a priest instead because I feel like that's gonna fit better. And then instead of a mace, that's gonna be a staff because that's what our animation has. I feel like his defense though is a little high because he's not gonna be wearing armor, but we're giving the wizard a defensive 2. We're giving the priest a defensive 2. We're giving everybody a defensive 2. I mean, that's a good starting point. Hmm. Just trying to think, trying to think of balance and stuff like that right now. So if everybody can move 6, I feel like we should reduce. Maybe like the wizard has to be slower. Like let's make the wizard a movement of 4. Let's keep the rogue and the barbarian at 6. Let's make the priest a 5. Yeah. So we make him slower, but then we'll make up for it when we give him his abilities. So let's take a look what we got for wizard abilities here. So if we go to our, where were we here? Boom, boom, boom. Way back, way back. Where's our actual? Here we go. Player characters. Wizard. Nope, not general. Yeah. General animation. So let's see. We got jump, walk, attack. Let me see. What's his attack look like? Yeah, just swinging his staff. So like a quarterstaff. Hurt, idle, jump, more idle, walk. Okay. So let's go back here. Let's go to wizard. Let's look at our special abilities. So we have, first off, we do have fireball. We have this nice fireball explosion effect. Yeah, see, this is going to hit in AoE. Boom. So I feel like we definitely need to work on AoE. So maybe what we do to keep it simplified is when the fireball goes, it hits the target, and then it checks to see whose neighbors, who's ever in the immediate surrounding one, and then it does half the damage. Maybe? Okay. So let's go back and let's add that fireball in. Okay. So fireball. And let's see what we do here before we did. Let's do. We have the AoE for the shuriken, so maybe we do the AoE again, but we do a 3x3. This will be a. Let's make it like very powerful. Let's do like 4 dice. We'll make it over powerful. We'll do separate attacks again. Okay. Okay, and then the next thing we have this fire torrent, which is like the only way to describe it is a flamethrower. So he's got like a flamethrower here that he can shoot. Yeah. Okay, so let's do that. That'll be a more basic one. So what we call that one again? That was called a flame torrent. Flame torrent. Fire torrent. Wow. Fire. There we go. Fire torrent. Okay, that will be a targeted single target. Single target. Let's make that 3 dice. Okay. We still have to come back in and we have to figure out how we want powers to reset. Because that's going to be the big balancing for this. Let's try the powers first. Just, give them... This is something I've learned from my Simon's Quest playtest was let's give the players all the toys, see what they do with it, see what they like, and then we can worry about trying to balance the toys and tweak them afterwards. It's a lot easier to play with it, see what's fun, and then rein it in to try to make it a balanced experience. So let's not worry about the recharge stuff yet. We're just going to keep going with this. We gave the rogue 3 abilities, so let's do the wizard 3. Teleport. Oh, that might be useful because then you can kind of, blink out and go, I'm out of here. And then show up somewhere else. That could be very useful to get around the board, especially when he's only got a 4 movement. Yeah, that could be very, very useful. What else does he have? He's got a familiar. It's a fire bat. That is a good question. Let's see. You can summon the fire bat. I mean, we've already got the systems in place where we could summon the fire bat as another player character and the player could control it. It's not gonna have any abilities. It's just gonna have a fly, move speed, and an attack. Um, let's put it down because remember the rogue we have two that's kind of could be one or the other. So we have a fire familiar and we have a teleport. So let's put this down here. Whoops. Fire familiar. Fire familiar and teleport. Familiar is with an A. Oops. And then that'll just create a new actor. Okay, and then that will have. It'll just always fly towards nearest enemy and attack. And then it'll do like maybe give it a 2-2, like 2 attack, 2 defense. And then have it only have one hit point. That might work out. Oh, we did this as new lines like this. Okay. Teleport. This could make up for slow movement. Range of what do we want to do, like 12 squares? Yeah, range of 12 squares. So then if he's only moving at 4, then trying to move around at with 12 squares, that should help a lot. Okay, so we got that. We got the priest. We already have defined here. Instead of dagger, let's call this a quarterstaff. What is it? A staff? What's the when it gets really long? Is it a staff? And what's the difference between a staff and a scepter? Let's look at that. What's the staff versus scepter? SCEPT. So scepter is good for bonking. Staff is longer. Okay. Yeah. So we want. So if we go back and look at a wizard, what's he got again for idle animation or whatever attack? Here we go. He has got. Oops. Let's look at the animated. And he's got a staff as well. We can call it fancy, whatever we want, but we'll just call it a staff. Yeah. His staff is worth 2. His staff is worth 1. We're gonna, you know what? It's gonna be totally wrong, but I want to call it something different. So let's call it a scepter. I totally misspelled scepter, didn't I? SCEPTER. No, I spelled it right. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we got that. Let's look at our cleric now. And then we'll, once we get these defined, we'll jump back in. We'll build some real quick stuff for them so we have some actual content in our game. And then tomorrow we'll actually start wiring up all this stuff. Okay, so let's go back here. Player characters, cleric, animations. So here's our attack. He just waves that scepter around. That's idle stuff. Okay, let's look at his special abilities. He has Divine Fire. So he casts a fire spell. Okay, so he's a ranged attacker. Okay. So that's Divine Fire. Let's see, what does it give us for actual animations? We can throw it diagonally. We can throw it horizontally, Does it give us the fireball? Yeah, fireball is separate. Impact. Do we have an actual like casting spell? Well, we have this. So when he just raises it, we could actually make a second spell. So he does this, and then it could just explode out of the distance. So we can kind of create like a second spell out of these animations. It doesn't have to necessarily be the throwing the animation, because we have the projectile here of it moving, and then we have this explosion. So we could possibly make 2 out of that. Don't know yet. Let's see what we got here for prayers. Okay, here's where all his powers are. So let's look at his prayers. So this is healing word. So this is him healing people. This is a spirit guardian. Okay, so it's white. And this is a word of pain. Okay. And then let's go look at what those look like. Healing words. Then it'll be an effect over whoever gets healed. Okay, that's kind of cool. That's simple to implement. That's healing words. Spirit guardians. Let's take a look at what this looks like. So this is another familiar spell. So if we do the fire familiar with the wizard, we can use the same type of logic here with the cleric, and he can summon something. But again, we're dangerously running into that. How does the cleric and the wizard feel different? So that's the familiar. Boom. Okay. So that's the familiar one. What was the other one we had? Word of pain. Oh, this could be interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I do like that. Okay. So we've got that. Let's go back here. Let's see. So on the priest. So on his abilities, we have prayers. Let's just call it healing word. That heals a player for... do we want to do a die roll on this, or do we want to make it solid? Let's just do... Let's do 2 HP. Yeah. And then we have Word of Pain, that's awesome. That'd be like a 2 attack. 2 attack. No. Let's do it kind of like the fireball. Let's do, a fireball is not instant. Where did we do the one that stepped down? Here we go. Throw bomb. 3 HP. So let's make this 2 HP. And then we're going to use the dice to reduce it. Where were we? Word of pain. Here we go. Boom. Dice to reduce it. Spirit guardians. That we can just borrow this familiar right here. And then we can try to change it up slightly. So let's see. Instead of fly towards the nearest enemy, follow priest and attack. So then it acts like a buffer. It tries to get itself in between the priest and the monster. So it'd be a guardian, because it's going to try to intercede. So the wizard's going to create the fire bats that are just going to swarm the enemy. The priest will create the spirit guardians, which will block and try to stop the monsters from getting to them. And then the other one was the what was it? Divine Fire. Yeah. Divine Fire. And that's going to be a ranged attack. Ranged. Let's give it a range of range 6. And then, oh, we should go back and actually define our range stuff. Range 6, and then let's give it a, I feel like this should be his normal attack. Let's do it two dice. Yeah, we'll do 2 dice. Up here for our rogue, shurikens, mobility, throw bomb. I feel like he needs a ranged in there. Fireball. There's an attack. Well, here's all his range, so he doesn't need the range. This is his divine range. Okay. I misspelled divine, didn't I? D-I-V. Divine fire. There we go. Okay, let's define. I think we've got a good starting point there. Let's define the barbarian, and then we can quickly get over and we can start building. Let's get some animations, at least in today. Those should be pretty quick. We get to look at the new 4.7 animation player, so I think that's going to be a real cool thing. Haven't touched that yet in my playthrough with it, so that's going to be very interesting. Where are we going? We are going to barbarian. So our general animations, we have just a regular great sword attack. We've got, that's him getting hit, hurt, idle, jumping, moving. Okay. Okay, let's look at specials. Special animations. So he's got a battle cry. So we got battle cry without and with special effects. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's add in a battle cry. Why didn't that? There we go. Battle cry. And then we should do, should that boost everybody in the party? Or do we want to make it so it's only, you know, certain characters? Like, not certain characters, but adjacent characters. I feel like that should just boost all players. Yeah. So let's do that. Let's do a boost all players. And then let's give them +1. What other, does he have other cries? What else does he have? He's got a guard, throw things, thunderblade attack. So he's only going to have these 2. So let's do 2 different ones. Let's do a separate battle cry. One with this. This might be like a, you know, if it's all red, +1 attack dice. And then if we can change the color of it to maybe like a blue or something like that, now it could be +1 defense dice. Boost all players. We'll do +1 attack or +1 defense. There we go. So that kind of gives them, you know, an ability. He's trying to help inspire his comrades. So that's that. Let's see what else we got. We got Thunderblade attack. This is a big one. And this is where he leaps into the air, and you know that's going to be an AOE. Yeah. So let's see here. That's going to be an AOE. So let's borrow the shurikens here. Thunderblade attack. Okay. So we're borrowing the shuriken stuff. I feel like this needs to be a little bit more because again, we're using that great sword and we're trying to attack everything. Maybe this, maybe we make this a 3x3 instead, so it's only the people that are directly next to him, because his job is kind of like the tank. He's going to run in and try to have everything swarm around him. We need some more stuff. So we have 2 battle cries. Guard? Maybe this is what the other thing is. Guard. Maybe this will boost his defense for like 2 rounds or something like that. So then he doesn't, it's not permanent, but maybe it just helps him a little bit. What'd they call that? They called that boot guard. guard, and then that will do boost defense, boost plus 2 defense. What did we set his defense at? 2 plus 2 defense for 2 rounds. Yeah, because then if we just count on the character's turn, so it comes back around, decrement, comes back around, decrement, active. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I think with that, I think we got a good starting idea of what we want to do. Anybody has any suggestions, feel free to put them in the comments. If you're watching this on video on demand, leave them in the comments of the video and I'll take a look at them and maybe we'll implement them tomorrow, or any other type of feedback that you might have. So, okay, get a drink of water here and we'll jump on over and we'll start adding in at least animations. First, let's create the separate resources. So let's go back over to here. We're going to go back to, let's just close all this stuff. Close all. Close the monster spawner. We're going to need the game board open. Orc. We're going to need a new, let's reset this. Character stats. So for the moment, we're just going to leave orc as 111. We're just going to do that right now for the orcs. And then we're going to come in here. We have our player right now. That one's defined as a rogue. Let's create a new. Hold on. Where was the rogue in the... Okay, there we go. So what we want to do here is we're going to come in. We're going to come into a wizard, create a new resource. And I think we call that a player. What do we call that? Player? Player. Okay. So go into wizard, create new resource, extends player resource, create. We call it a wizard. Save. Did we not define that right? How do we do rogue here? Hold on. Oh, character stats. Okay, so wizard. This should be a quick load. Character stats. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look here. A wizard. Wizard was 4 move, 1 attack. That will probably get set to 0. 2 and 4. Okay, so that's the wizard. And then so if we go back up to our game board, see, that's the rogue. That is the priest. Let's rename this. Let's call him rogue. That is the priest. Player 3, this is the barbarian. And this is the wizard. Okay, so then if we change this, quick load, wizard. Okay, and then so let's go and define our other ones as well. So cleric, create new resource, and that's going to be character stats. And we're going to call it priest. Did I name him? I didn't name him priest. Okay. So the priest was rogue priest. There we go. 5225. Okay. So we save this. Save. And then go to priest. Oops. Priest. Okay. And then we just need to define the barbarian. Okay, and the barbarian we set up as 6328. 6328. Okay, save that. Barbarian. Barbarian. Okay, so now when we run this, we should be getting different stats for these guys. So they get 1 attack, 2 defense, 1 attack, 2 defense. Okay. So now we got the rogue, which if I remember right, we only give him 1 attack, but we can move him. He gets 6, so he can move all the way over here. I'll just give him the attack here. And he missed. Okay. The priest, we can only do 5. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, he can only go 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, he can only go 5. Okay. Then we attack. He gets 2 attack. Okay. End turn. Okay, now when the barbarian moves, he should get 3 dice. There we go. Okay. Attack again. Wow, we're not doing so well on that. But he should be able to move the full distance. Okay. And then the wizard should only be able to move 4. Yep, he can only move 4. Perfect. And he only gets 1 attack die. Yep, there we go. Hey, and he killed one. Let's see if we can kill another one. Okay. Okay, so our stats are working. That's great. Let's do... let's save these as their independent scenes, because right now we don't have anything really unique about them besides their sprites. So let's do... because each of these have a player. Yeah. So let's work on our rogue first, because that was the one that was voted for. So let's do a save branch as scene, core components. Where did we put it? Under characters, player characters, rogue. We save our rogue here. Okay, so let's work on our rogue. Okay, so let's add child node, animation player. Okay, so then what we need to do, let's start with a new animation. Is idle animation, so sprite. Let's add in a frame, create. And this is the new thing that is added in 4.7, which I'm very thankful for. I really like this idea. Let's see, we got 16 frames. So let's do, I like to do 1/10 of a second. That's how I animate my stuff. So if I come in here, we add in a keyframe. Keyframe 15. And then we just do continuous and looping. You should just idle. So the question is, if you just idle like this, it's going to get very repetitive and annoying. Let's make it. I don't really want to do. Let's leave it like this, because I think in the polish, we'll go in and we'll add in like a random back off timer. So then they'll play their idle animation after a random like 30 seconds. So then won't constantly do it. He'll only do it every now and then. Okay. So we got that. Let's put it for autoplay for right now. So then like back here, if we come back here, we should see our rogue animating. And he is not. Why is our rogue not animating? That's very peculiar. Why is he not animating? Is it because we turned off our physics frames? No, he's not animating on his turn either. Okay, why is our rogue not animating? Let's go over here. Well, he's animating, but of course the camera is off. So what did we do to pause the animation? What if we do it to always? I'm just curious. No. What are we doing that's preventing the animation player from playing. Oh, you know what we can do? Let's take a look at the remote game board here. Let's look at our actors. Look at our rogue. He doesn't have the animation player. That's probably why. Okay. So we got this. So if we come back to our game board, let's remove this rogue. We add him in here. Put him back where he was. Okay, so we have our rogue here. He's in the player class. Let's make sure he's in our combat, our game board for our players. Assign the rogue. There we go. Yeah, for some reason, when I saved it as a scene and added the animation player, it didn't retroactively add it to the main scene. That seems very, very odd, but that's exactly what happened. Maybe this is a bug of 4.7. I don't know. I have not come across that before. I swear I've had that work properly in the past. Okay, so let's see. What else do we need to do? We need to go back into our rogue here. I'm going to remove this player.gd. I'm going to create a new one, and we're going to inherit player. Inherit player, and this is going to be called rogue, and we're going to save it as rogue. There we go. Okay. No, that's OpenScript. I want to save it as last name rogue. R-O-G-U-E. There we go. Rogue. Oh, that's why. Okay, hold on. Let's close this. Okay, let's go back to the rogue. Detach that script. Because I had this box checked. That's why it was throwing me off. Okay, player, rogue. Okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so we got a rogue here. Okay, so now any special ability, any special things that we need to do for the rogue, like his powers, we're going to contain within the script. So then if we look at like player, actor. So if we look at actor, like we have a moving right here. So if we do this and we come into, where do we want it? Start move. Yeah, start move. So let's do that. Let's go into the rogue here. Function start move. Then we want to await super, or no, we just do super because we want to keep what's in the actor class, and then we can bring in our animation player here, and we can do animation player.play, and then we can do, right now we don't have it, but we're going to have a move. Okay. So then here we can do animation new move. Okay. And then what we're going to do, oh, you know what we need to do? I totally forgot about this. So let's go back to our idle animation. We need to add in one more thing. We need to add in the texture key, create, because this, all of our stuff is not in the same texture sheet or texture. What's the word I'm looking for? Sprite sheet. There we go. And each one has a unique sprite sheet. So we have to add in this texture, which order of operations, animation player works top down. So you want to set your texture first before your frame. You also may need to change the H frames and the V frames. So I'm gonna key those in right now. I'm not gonna need to change the V frames because all of these are all set with 4. None of them are set with, like 6 or 8. They're all set with 4, but the number of horizontal frames do change. So I'm going to set the texture followed by the horizontal frames, and then the actual frames for the animation. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to copy these tracks, and we're going to go into idle. We're going to go into move. We're going to paste them in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this with, let's go into our rogue animations. We have walk, idle, yeah, walk. So let's put the walk in here. And you can see this is only 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why we need to adjust the H frames here, make it 4. And then we're going to make this 0.4. Bring this back in here so he's in the right spot. Now if we come down here and we look, we play the animation. Oops. Forgot we need to change this to not 4, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, loop. There we go. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah. It's 4 frames, 0.4. I don't like the way it does this sometimes. So let's put it in discrete mode. And we'll do single frames of animation. There we go. I don't like the way it does this sometimes. And now it's going to also complain because now our reset, no, those are discrete. Idle is in continuous. So this is going to complain because we have one mode here set for continuous and another one set for discrete. So to fix this, really what I would probably do is come in here, delete this out, go into the idle here, let's set it back to the beginning, go into the frame here. We've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way down through 15. Was that 15? We need one more. Add frame 15. There we go. So now it's going to do the same exact thing. Boom, boom, boom. We do have a little bit of a jank right there at the end. Let's see if we can figure out what is causing that. 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's see here. Where is... Why has he got this brief little look back right here? That should not be... Okay, we got something here that's not... Let's save this. Let's just reload. It might be something in the cache. Okay, let's see here. So reset is fine. Move is fine. Idle. Yeah, why is that? What's happening here at the end? There we go. Oh, right, because we don't need to go past that final frame. Was yeah, no, we definitely... What is going... That is weird. What is... It's 16 frames. That should be fine. I don't know why he's getting that extra look back, though. 14, 15. Let's look at our sprite sheet. Let's just make sure we don't have something messed up with the sprite sheet here. Die, idle. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is the look back. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. It's almost like it's going to frame 16 here. Is what it's behaving like. Oh, you know what? I know why. There we go. We didn't change it off continuous. Sometimes, you make stupid errors without realizing it. Okay. So then we do this. Okay. Let's bum, 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 bum. Okay, let's go back to our script. So now we'll move when he's moving. And then what we need to do is we need to go back to idle when he's done moving. So at the end, so here on movement finish in our player, we have deactivate. So we'll do this movement finished rogue. We'll do the same exact thing here. We'll call the super. Oops. Super. And then we'll do an animation player dot play. And then we'll just change it to idle. There we go. So now when the rogue moves, we should see him actually move across the board. What did I do? What did I do wrong? Movement equals stats dot movement. On character type null. Okay, we messed something up. Okay, here's our player. We super function ready. Super. Did we mess up our rogue and not assign him his stats? Probably. Okay, let's go back to our local rogue. Yep, we forgot to assign his stats. Save. Okay. There we go. So now he's idle. It's not his turn, so let's just end. Now having sound effects really drives me nuts. Can't wait to get to that section. Okay, now we have a bunch of our player turns. Oh, someone died. Why didn't someone die? It says the wizard has survived. That's not great. Okay, but we're testing the animation. So now move. Doop, 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 doop. There we go. Move him again. Doop, 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 doop. Perfect. Okay. So why did let's just make sure this works when I attack. There we go. That should have killed. Yes. One of the monsters died. Okay, another character has died. If I attack... Okay, I can't attack my fellow players. Okay, that survived. Let's just make sure we got stuff here. Nothing. Wow. Come on, wizard. Okay, you're all done. And boom. So someone... Wizard. Okay, we broke something. That rogue... Oh. No, we didn't. Hold on. We didn't. Because we added hit points. Remember, we changed our body stats. So now, if we come back in here, we look at our actors. We have the rogue, and we have their... Where do we have it here? Oh, player, actor. There's our speed. No. Where are our stats on the rogue. Move points, current. Do we have... We don't have the hit points. Okay. Yeah, so what's happening is because they're not doing enough damage, they're not actually killing them. So when we take the damage, like here in the actor, we're defining the stat, but we're not setting up what the current hit points are. Okay. So we need to do that in the player. Let's do it in the player here. Let's do it in the actor because both the monster and the player are going to have hit points. So var current HP. It's an int. We're just going to set it to 1 to start. And then in the ready, current HP equals 1. Set physics process, movement equals movement stats. Current HP equals stats dot, what do we call it? Hit points. There we go. Okay. So then that will set it up so both the orcs and the players have their current hit points. So then when we do the damage, when we do the attack, we go back here, we do combat manager. You know, things that you don't think of when you're doing this stuff. When we're only having, for testing, we only have the 1 hit point. Everything works fine. Then we add more than 1 hit point. We're like, oh, we're never actually subtracting the damage. So like right here, we have if damage is greater than or equal to the stats dot hit points, then we say they've died. So what we need to change is we need to do target dot current hit points. Okay. Okay. And then if not, what we need to do here. So if else, we can say they survived. Oh, wait, hold on. Not here. If the damage is greater than or equal to the target's current hit points. Okay, so if it's not, then we can take the target's current hit point minus equals damage. Okay. So that should fix our combat problem. Let's find out. Okay. So now if we attack, the orc only has 1 hit point. So as long as I do 1 damage, which I didn't. Let's try it again. Okay, come on. We can hit. We can do it. 1 hit, 1 dice is not enough. I think there's a reason why Hero Quest gives people 2 dice. Okay, he's just done. Okay, so let's attack with this guy. 2. Wow. Just the luck of the dice are not with me today. There we go, 1 hit. Hey, he's dead. Okay, perfect. End the turn. Okay, let's just end the turn here. Actually, before we go any further, let's look at, like, say, the wizard. Let's look at his stats. We have current HP. Okay, so let's end the turn. He's going to get attacked. Nothing. Let's end his turn. Wizard's going to get attacked. Nothing. It's going to get attacked again. Nothing. Attacked again. Nothing. Okay, come on. Somebody hit somebody. Okay, I'm going to have to change these orcs up for testing to have like 4 dice just so I can actually cause some damage. This is unreal. There's 3 sides of the die that are hit or swords. And I seem to be rolling everything but. There's a sword. There we go. Okay, so Wizard has survived, but yep, and his current hit point, whoops. His current hit point was 3. You saw that before I changed it, but his current hit points was 3. Okay, so he has taken damage. Okay, so that fixes that problem. Great, great. Okay, so we got that. Let's do the same thing for the other guys. So then we have some animations in there. And then we have this stuff defined for the other. Actually, you know what we could do? We could actually just take this and put this in player, because all of our players are going to have an animation player. They're all going to have move, idle. So these, I think we can actually just cut this out. So on start move player, actor. You know what? We can probably just put it here in the actor. Yeah, why don't we do that? And then we can bring in the animation player. Yeah, let's do this. Animation player idle. That was on which one? On movement finish. Oops. Oh, wrong button. What? Whatever. Delete, 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 delete. I wanted to copy that actually. Okay. Movement finished. Oops. Yep, I understand. I understand. Move and slide. If it's done. Oh, wait, we redefine movement finish in the player. So let's go back into the player. And we'll put that in here. Okay. And then in the actor, we're going to go back over to Rogue. We're going to take this. We're going to cut this out. And then we're going to put in, let's do this. Instead of at ready, on ready, we're going to make this an export var animation player. Okay. And then what we can do, why is this? Oh, whoops. I wanted to put that in actor, not in player. Save that there. Let's go back over here. Actor. We got stats, animation player, save. Okay, so now that should resolve that. That should resolve that. And then in the actor class, we're just going to have a quick check for start move. And we'll just say if animation player. So we want to make sure it's there. And then we can play the move. And then in the here, you know what? Let's cut this out here. Let's just call it the super. And I kind of talked about this before, but we're just calling the super, which is going to call the actor on movement finished. When we call the super, if we don't have a wait here, it's going to execute the actor on movement finished at the same time that it's doing the player animation finish, or the player on movement finished. That's not a big deal for this because all we're doing is changing the animation player and basically telling it to go back to idle. Not a big deal here. But if you have some contradicting stuff and you want to make sure that it runs one and then the other, you want to make sure you have the await or else it won't work very well. So let's go back here to on movement finish. And here we're going to do that. And then we're also going to have that check. So if animation player, play idle. Okay, so now what that's going to do is this should be fine, except for in the rogue. Go back here to our rogue class. We should have an export. Why do we not have the export? Stats. Okay, let's close the rogue. Let's reopen the rogue. Okay, what did it do? Because now we're missing the, because we're inheriting player. Okay, come into player. Here's our player class. And then that's inheriting actor. And we should have two exports, stats and animation player. We do not have either of those over here. We may have some 4.7 bugs. Let's reload. Yep. Okay. So we have some bugs here with 4.7. So maybe if you haven't upgraded yet, maybe hold off. Don't go yet. Okay. So now, in theory, the way this is going to work is the rogue should animate. We shouldn't get errors from anything else because we haven't built animation players for the other characters. There we go. No animations there. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So now let's see. We've already got the orcs. They're all set up. We got character stats here. Let's give them an animation player as well. Let's just give them a real quick animation new. Let's give them an idle. Okay. And let's see here. Enemies, orc. Okay. We have a idle. Current animation is idle. We have the sprites. These are 16. So let's add in the frame. First, let's add in the texture. Create. Let's add in the horizontal frames. That's good. Okay. And then let's add in the actual frame. Okay. There. Okay. And then that's going to be 1.6 seconds. And I forgot to change my snapping here. So this is going to be all off. Okay. So let's delete all this. Let's go all the way back here. Okay. Sprite. Let's go back to frame 0. Okay. So let's add in. There we go. Now we're adding it in the right intervals. There we go. Okay. So now we loop. Let's look at our 2D animation. Blink, blink, blink. Blink, blink, blink. Okay, perfect. So that's there. Let's add a new animation. Let's add move. Okay. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to add in the, actually, we'll just copy. Edit to copy tracks. We will not copy the frame because I'll add those in manually. Edit, paste. Okay. And then when we change this texture, let's add in, whoops, go back here. Let's add in the keyframe. And we have walk. And if we look here, you can also zoom out. There's 4. So let's go back here. We got that. Our frame is 4. Okay. So we're going to be 0.4 seconds long. And we're going to come back to the, put our playhead at the beginning. Our sprite. We're going to add in frame create. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll make it loop. There's his move. Okay. So now we assign our animation player. Now, in theory, our orcs should move when they move. And they didn't stop. Why didn't they stop? Okay, let's go back and look. Why didn't they stop moving? Okay, we're going to resolve this, and then we'll probably call it a day. It's 12:17. So yeah, we'll probably call it after this because I am starving. I need some lunch. But let's see. Let's figure out why they are not stopping moving. So orcs. Okay, we move. Do we have, where's our monster? Monster GD. Movement finished. Oh, we didn't call super. Okay. So now if we do that, then they should move and stop. So let's move our guys out of the way, so then they have to move to us. There we go. Move, stop. Yep. Okay. And then what we'll probably do is we can do one of two things. We can update the facing, and then we can just flip the sprite value, whether it's if they're moving left or moving right. Or we can do some other stuff. Let's see. Let's look at here. Do we have a reference to the sprite in the actor class? We do not. We just call it sprite 2D though, right? Yeah. And where do we do the move in the physics? Let's just, it's going to bug me if I don't do this. I'm going to do that. It should be real quick. Let's just do this and get it done with. So we go here, actor class. We bring in a reference to the sprite. And then when we're moving here, moving equals V. So when we start the move, start move, here we go. No, we want to constantly do it, because I was thinking if we start the move and we're going left, we'll just flip it there. But we could be, excuse me, we could go up and then left. So let's see here. The animation player is still running on something. There it goes. Okay, it stopped. Okay. So let's see here. So we were physics process. Here we go. Velocity. Moving equals false. Okay, I'm not worried about it here. Here we go. Direction, velocity equals that. So let's just add in a real quick here. If velocity dot x, wow, dot x is less than 0, we're going to do sprite 2D dot flip h equals true. Because I believe by default we're all okay, we're just going to do this to get this working. These animations actually have left and right, and so the characters are going to look different. So I don't want to do this in the future, but I'm going to just use this for right now. And then if velocity.x is greater than 0, flip h equals false. So then this way, is if there's no x velocity, they're going to keep facing whichever way they're facing. They're only going to flip if they're facing the opposite directions. So, oops. Helps if I run the game board. There we go. Okay. So then right now, if I move him over here, he should be fine. And if I move him back this way, yep, now he's facing the other way. Okay. And then that should be the same, for him. That way, move back here, done. Yep. And same, and you notice the orc did the same thing. Boom. Okay. So we're looking at almost having a playable game. We still have some stuff that, I don't want to do. We got some cleanup stuff here to do, but I think we're looking good here. We're looking a lot more like we actually have a playable game. We've defined our characters. We've got all this stuff. We added a very basic what's the word I'm looking for? Animation. And so we'll pick this back up probably tomorrow. We'll add in the animation player for the barbarian, wizard, and the priest. And then we will start defining and building out these abilities. And we'll probably, because, you guys voted for the rogue, we'll probably start with building out the rogue one. I'll probably start first off with the throw bomb. But that's also going to require us to do one more thing. And if you come back into our actual game board here, we're going to have to change this cast spell into usability. Um, hmm. I'll have to think about that. Let me draw up some ideas. I gotta think about the user interface, because do we want a, just like, right now the way I'm picturing this is this menu is not going to live right here. It's going to live right next to the character. So when it's their turn, this will pop up basically kind of like off the character itself, and then you're going to be able to tell what you want to do. So maybe we either have a unique menu for each character, which we can embed into like the rogue class, or we have actual ability icons like in a hotbar at the bottom when it's the character's turn. Yeah, let me think about that. I want to dig into that. I think I'm going to draw up a sample UI, because the way I'm picturing it right now in my head, and I don't know how well this is going to work. I'm thinking like player portraits down, cameras reversed. Player portraits down the left side of the screen, initiative across the top, and then like abilities and stuff on the bottom, and then the gameplay kind of in that middle 2/3 of the screen is what I'm picturing right now. But I don't know how well that's going to work. But let me draw that up. Let me think here. So I think, where are we at? 12:20. So I'll call that another good 2 hours today. Let me take a look here, and where's our save all this? Let's get into our GitHub. And it looks like Discord is being hit by spam, so I'm gonna have to jump over there and start cleaning some stuff up here. Dungeon tiles. There we go. So let's see. 2 hours. We did 28, so we're at 30.5. So let's see. Added character stats. And we're going to do 30.5. I mean, technically we did some bug fixes too, but we're going to do that. We're going to commit that in. We're going to push the origin. Okay, so that's in there. And then I'm going to rebuild my server this afternoon. So hopefully we'll get back to our Kanban board. I'll be able to get that restored. I don't know how good the image is that I was able to sacrifice to retrieve off those damaged drives are, but hopefully everything